Okay, this is what came out of these torture memos. I mean, we've had Janet Karpinski on this program. We've had actually several members of the military with stars on their shoulders who have all pretty much said, this came from the top down. Janet Karpinski, of course, the I believe brigadier general who ran Abu Ghraib and said these methods were imported from Guantanamo. And they went to Guantanamo via these memos. And this group, Physicians for Human Rights, has published an extraordinary study that, looking for their website here, I guess you'll have to, here it is, Physicians for Human Rights. They don't say dotted, I'm assuming it's .org, but it's Physicians FOR Human Rights. And it's titled Broken Laws, Broken Lives, Medical Evidence of Torture by U.S. Personnel and Its Impact. And they actually went out and interviewed and then did physical examinations of people who had been in U.S. custody in Guantanamo and other places. And this forget waterboarding. Listen, this is from the report. Yasser tearfully described that when he reached the top of the steps, quote, the party began, end quote. They started to put the muzzle of the rifle and the wood from the broom into my rear orifice, I guess, for lack of a better word. They entered my privates from behind. Yasser estimated that he was penetrated 5 or 6 times during this initial sodomy incident and, quote, saw blood all over my feet through a small hole in the hood covering my eyes. Physicians for Human Rights goes on to say, this is highly consistent with the events Amir described, another prisoner, including a traumatic injury and subsequent scarring process. Examination of the perianal area showed signs of rectal tearing that are highly consistent with his report of having been sodomized with a broomstick. Now, remember the prisoner in New York City who had this happen to him and sued for millions of dollars, and cops lost their jobs? And apparently this was more just, well, again, this sexual humiliation is the way it's referred to in the torture memos. Approved, by the way, at the principals meeting by Dick Cheney, Condoleezza Rice, Donald Rumsfeld, Colin Powell, George Tenet, and John Ashcroft, who, by the way, said history will not judge this kindly. This from another victim, another inmate. This is from the report from the Physicians for Human Rights. He also recalled being forced to wear soiled underwear, often for weeks or months at a time. Months at a time? We have a ticking time bomb? Say what? Quote, I had diarrhea and I was in handcuffs. I was making my toilet in my underwear and I was very dirty. That was very painful. When he asked to see a doctor, he was told, we brought medicine for you. Lath explains that, in fact, quote, they brought me bottles of their urine, and they told me that if you do not drink these, we will bring your mother and sisters. Because I was hearing the screams and voices of women and children, I believed them and drank it. I was in handcuffs, and they poured their urine into my mouth, and sometimes I vomited from that, but when I vomited, they kept on pouring the urine on my head. I died at that time. He said he was forced to drink urine from U.S. soldiers on 11 different occasions. This is from the study from Physicians for Human Rights. Here's another quote, and then I'll end this because I realize how graphic this is, but this is what it was done in our name during the Bush administration. These are the crimes that were committed with our tax dollars. This is what you and I, all of us, are directly or indirectly complicit in, particularly if we do not prosecute these people. from the report for Physicians for Human Rights. Perhaps the most important are the anal scars that were observed. They're talking about numerous captives that they looked at. Not only are these scars highly consistent with anal trauma, i.e. would result from forced sodomy or penetration with an object, these scars are in a location where accidental injuries would not occur. This is and now the Obama administration says, "Oh, we don't want to look back. We've got to look forward." And maybe we need to keep some couple hundred of these people in indefinite detention, many of whom we're sure did not commit a crime. Well, why would you keep them in indefinite detention? Because they can testify like this in public. They can tell these stories. And then maybe you're forced to prosecute Bush and Cheney and Rumsfeld and Rice as the war criminals that they are.